All right, Tristan, I don't know if you looked at anybody's predictions before this game, but the 49ers and the Vikings, I think everybody had circled the 49ers, especially after last week, them winning the football game. This had to be the upset of the week, if you ask me. Sam Darnold pulled off some magic and beat the 49ers 23-17. I think this is a pretty big shock to everybody in the football world. I think I remember reading one Fox analyst say that he thought the Minnesota Vikings would have what it takes to upset the 49ers. Did not believe it. Christian McCaffrey obviously went on IR, in case you haven't heard that from anybody else, and we give the news to you first. Picking Christian McCaffrey first overall in your fantasy draft it's very sad. It's a very sad day. You can ask me because I did it. But that aside, Jordan Mason seems to be carrying the team just fine, but he didn't carry him enough to get a win today. Do you think that, and look, as a Minnesota Vikings fan, I know you guys have to be on some type of anxiety medicines because you just can't go week to week and be confident in a team ever. Like, even as a Bills fan, I have more confidence than you guys. It's always up and down with the Vikings, or you get this close and then everything falls apart. Do you think that Sam Darnold, the Vikings, have what it takes to sustain this type of play throughout the rest of the season or even the next 5 to 7 games?
I have said, and
Plead the fifth?
Well, go back to the preseason. When we talked about the Vikings, we actually said Sam Darnold's going to come out of the gate hot. He's going to look good for 4 or 5 weeks, and then it's going to collapse somewhere. I'm going to stick by that. I just feel like at some point, it's going to come home to roost. I think Sam Darnold I'm not saying he's going to be terrible. I don't think he's going to keep playing like this. I really don't. Justin Jefferson got injured today. We don't know the status of it right now. That could be
day to day. I just looked it up.
It should be okay, but that could be a big deal. The 49ers kind of shot themselves in the foot here, but on the same time, the Vikings moved the ball. They moved the ball all over this defense. But was the 49ers defense inflated from that Jets performance? Because we saw the Jets struggle with the Titans. It takes a couple weeks to really see who these teams are. The bottom line is Minnesota has to be happy because they're executing. I like Kevin O'Connell a lot. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the league. But the fact that Sam Darnold has been executing so well is really impressive. I'll be honest. I did not expect it. I did not expect him to look this good. Kind of similar to what we talked about with Tampa Bay. Minnesota capitalized on San Francisco's mistakes because San Francisco moved the ball. They had 24 first downs. Minnesota had 17. 67 plays. They had more plays than Minnesota. They had 399 yards. Minnesota had 403. It's neck and neck. They were moving the ball.
I was about to say, if you keep reading down those stats, it's even all the way through, even to the turnovers. They both had 2.
Absolutely. There are 2 things that stick out to me, the reason the 49ers lost this game. Number 1, my favorite stat, 49ers, 2 for 10 on third down conversions. So they couldn't keep drives alive once they got closer to the red zone. The other big one, the 49ers went for it on fourth down twice in this game and did not convert. One of them was certainly in field goal range. I think the second one was, or it was really close. So hypothetically, that could have been 6 points. That would have been a tie game right there. One of them was an odd decision. They went for it on the 1, so they were about to score. I understand you're away, you want to go for it. And if you don't get it, you put Minnesota on their own 1. Well, they didn't get it. They put Minnesota on their own 1, and he threw a 99-yard touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson, just like that. So that kind of broke the back of San Francisco. It broke the wheel. They hung in there. They fought, but ultimately the Vikings prevailed. And I can't state enough how impressed I am with the Vikings offense and the defense. They were able to get the Niners off the field. I think they can sustain this level of play for a few weeks. I just think Sam Darnold will regress a little bit back to the mean at some point.
I think he has to. And look, as a Vikings fan, I know you don't have to have us tell you to, temper
I'm not a Vikings fan.
Your expectations. It's probably going to crumble at some point. Let's talk about the Niners for just a second, because I do want to mention that Jordan Mason is going to be a starting running back for the rest of his career now. Like, he is proven now.
I disagree with that.
In just the 2 weeks, my opinion, I think he is a starting running back. I mean, you wouldn't put him in over Chuba Hubbard? Huh?
It kind of falls in the same scenario as, don't they all look good with Shanahan? It's like, oh, Jimmy
Maybe.
Garoppolo looked great with Shanahan.
Well,
Brock Purdy's great with Shanahan.
So here's the counter to this, because I'll tell you who doesn't look good, who just got paid, and that's Brandon Ayuk. Like, are you concerned that you just paid this guy this much money, and now he's playing, third down in pecking order of most targets or most yards? Like, he's not. Are we waiting for the breakout game?
Yeah, I'm concerned they paid him that much money because I wouldn't have given him that contract because they already paid Debo, which, ideally you're not in that situation. But because they were where they were, I didn't think they should have paid Ayuk. He was not worth what he was asking. I think Ayuk will be okay. It's just that he missed training camp. He didn't have a training camp. He wasn't ready to go. You know what I mean? So it's taken him a while to get up to speed. I think he'll come back into the fold, but you're seeing the 49ers come back to earth with McCaffrey out. Obviously, and I understand Jordan Mason's numbers are good, but there still is a difference. McCaffrey, it's not just the running that makes McCaffrey dangerous. It's the being a receiving threat. McCaffrey, Bill Belichick said this. He was like, once McCaffrey crosses the line of scrimmage, he's not a running back. He said he is a wide receiver. You have to have a DB on him or one of your best safeties because he runs wide receiver routes. I don't care how good Jordan Mason is running between the tackles. The San Francisco has a good offensive line. Jordan Mason's performing. He's not that. Christian McCaffrey is such a different threat. He adds such another layer that defenses have to think about. They will improve when he comes back. And they're still hanging in there. But I think they will elevate as they move along through the season.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that like Jordan Mason is the next greatest thing. All I'm saying is
it's impressive.
He has talent. You can see the talent even through his runs. He hasn't been utilized in the passing game, so we really don't know what that looks like. You'd have to go back to probably college film to see what that looked like, and that wouldn't even give you a good variable because it's college versus NFL. But that aside, I'm looking at all these other running backs in the league because some of them are on my fantasy rosters, and I'm looking at Chuba Hubbard. I'm like, I'd rather have Jordan Mason. I'm looking at Jerome Ford after today, and I'm thinking, well, maybe Jordan Mason's a better running back. But, I mean, I know there's different circumstances all around, and, nowadays you almost have to have a pass-catching running back to be an efficient running back in the NFL, aside from Derrick Henry, who can just run it between the tackles whenever he wants. But I think that Jordan Mason has put his flag in the ground and said, hey, I am good enough to be a starting running back. And let's be honest, they're not going to be able to afford all these guys on the team. So at some point, they're going to have to get rid of some guys, offload them, trade them, whatever. And I think Jordan Mason will be one of those guys that they ship off to somebody else, and he'll make a good name for himself.
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt. He's elevated his stock. I mean, his stock has skyrocketed from this opportunity. And that's what's great about the NFL. Players, when they get an opportunity and then they make the most of it, that's what he's doing. I think if you're the 49ers, obviously you're bummed you're lost, but no one's freaking out in San Francisco. You think you're going to be fine. Just keep grinding away. Things will go our way if we keep executing. But Minnesota comes out of this feeling great. They feel way better than they did last week.
Yeah, well, you do feel great as a Vikings fan a few times a year, but I still think the 49ers are a Super Bowl team as it stands right now.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to have to be dealt with.